Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Cocktails in the War Room. I am your host, Mistress Carrie, and for the 278th time, welcome to the War Room. This is where we meet up every Tuesday night at 8:30 to talk about the world, to talk about what's going on in our lives, to talk about music, I think most importantly. It's something we started doing on March 14th of 2020 at the very beginning of the pandemic. We did 80 nights in a row, wrote out the craziest part of COVID together. And then when we launched the Mistress Carrie podcast in June of 2020, we turned Cocktails in the War Room into the weekly show that you see now. And we get together every Tuesday night at 8:30 live on my official Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. So depending on where you're watching from, you may or may not be able to see all of the show. I think if you're watching Instagram, the aspect ratio of the screen is a little different. I can see almost all of the comments. I can see if you're commenting on Instagram, although it shows me your handle, not your actual name. So if you're going to comment on Instagram, make sure that you tell me what your name is so I can say hello. I also see the comments on Facebook and on YouTube, but to everybody watching on Twitch and Twitter as well, welcome to Cocktails in the War Room. I know there's a lot of new people that are discovering me and the War Room because of my new radio show in Charleston, South Carolina on 98 Rock. So if you are one of those people and you're new to the War Room, please let us know in the comments. If you're new to the War Room from anywhere, let us know in the comments where you're watching from and that it's your first time so that the War Room family, as they have named themselves, can welcome you properly. And before we get into the show and I introduce you to my co-host that's making all of this noise over here, I want to make sure that anybody that's new and not familiar, if you go to mistresscarrie.com, you will see the Cocktails in the War Room section right on the front page of the website. You will see the word dictionary is a hyperlink, dictionary. That'll take you to the glossary. And that will fill you in on a lot of the inside jokes and terms, especially from the early days of the War Room, because those inside jokes, it's kind of like a glossary. We don't want you to be left behind. And so if you have questions about why people are referencing things, a lot of the time the explanation is in the dictionary. So want to say what's up to Eddie on Instagram, Bish on Facebook, Mike Govin watching from New Hampshire on Instagram right now. Let's see. Rebecca joining us on Instagram as well. Tracy on Facebook. Keith on Facebook. Denise is joining us on Facebook as well. The War Room family is quite the crew. It's quite the tribe. And what I love is that, we are a really diverse group of people, not only geographically, but also in age, in financial makeup, in religion. But this is a place we come because we're looking for camaraderie, we're looking for positivity, and we're looking for people that love a lot of the same things that we do. Not everything, because we're very different in a lot of ways, but especially people that have a passion for music, which is really kind of how we all started our relationship, especially yours with me, because of the years that I've spent on the radio playing your favorite songs. So Brian joining in on Facebook. What's going on? Keith says, no way, I didn't get the notification. Rebecca says, followed on WAF. Thank you very much. Tons of new places for you to find me in the wake of WAF, which is part of the reason why the War Room kind of started in the first place, is that a few weeks after WAF went off the air, people were wondering how I was doing. And so I got the suggestion from an old coworker of mine at AAF that I should go live and let people know how I was doing, especially with the start of COVID. And the room in my house that I'm sitting in right now is actually called the War Room, which is where all my military memorabilia is from my trips overseas, my family's military memorabilia from their years and generations of service, and it's also where the bar is. So we started meeting here for a cocktail in the War Room, and over 278 episodes, we have had a lot of cocktails. A lot of cocktails. Okay, you probably can hear her already over here Wednesday. But for anybody that's new to the War Room, let me introduce you to my co-host. This is Wednesday. That is where you can find her on Instagram. She joins us pretty much every week here in the War Room on the Pugcam. Can you get down for me? Down. Good girl. She also sits with me in the studio when I'm doing the radio shows and the podcast. Paw, can I have a high five? Thank you. Down. And is pretty much with me all the time. Now that I work out of my own studio, I have the ability to take her with me when I go to work. And so her and I are pretty much inseparable all of the time. And the only time that I can get her to sit still and do tricks is when I have a pocket full of cookies. And once those cookies are gone until mail call later on in the show, she will probably bail on us and come back later. So, right, darling? Are you being a very good girl? We've been having some house repairs done. For anybody that doesn't know, my house is old. Older, not old by New England standards, but older. And so I am constantly doing some kind of project around the house. And right now I'm having some repair work done to my siding. And people that repair siding don't usually work like late at night. So they're usually here pretty early in the morning. And so Wednesday and I have been getting up earlier over the last couple of weeks than we are used to. I have raised her to be a night dog the way that I was raised by my parents to be a night owl as a kid. And so when the alarm goes off early in the morning, so that I can, get the power going for the guys that need to plug in the power tools, she's not happy with me. So she has been a little out of sorts the last couple of weeks because she's having to get up early, which I don't enjoy either. So good evening. Second week, says Ben. Ben, thanks for joining us. Mark's here. Hello, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Miles into an MC trip. Mark, that's fantastic. Kevin says, what's up, Wednesday and Mistress Carrie and everybody. Donna saying, hey guys, sorry I am late. Rebecca says, I love your precious pug. Don't say that. Wednesday. She's just you can't have your ego floated anymore. Everybody knows you're the prettiest girl. I've been putting up a lot of pictures of her on her Instagram, which by the way, is that Instagram handle right there. So if you're not following her on Instagram, yes, she has her own Instagram because otherwise they would just be pictures of my dog on my Instagram all the time. Logan McElroy joining us from Charleston, South Carolina. Logan, I'm hoping that you found the show because of 98 Rock in Charleston, which is where I started last week, which I'm super excited about. So many transplanted New Englanders have moved to South Carolina. And I have been getting so many messages, email, social media going, wait, is this the same Mistress Carrie that I grew up listening to on WAAF? Because if it is, this is a dream come true because I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. And now I feel like I'm home because I'm listening to you on the radio again. Michael Cole says, pre-coffee Carrie, ouch. You have no idea. Ask the hubs. Ask Mr. C. He will tell you. I'm here in Tampa, says Eric, and I am fucking melting. Yeah. I have friends that are like in Vegas right now, that are in Phoenix right now. That's why I always say I would take the snow because you can always put on another coat. You can't take off your skin. And it gets to the point, and being part Sicilian, like we're just sweaty people. And I can't handle extreme heat, especially since I got heat stroke in Iraq back in 2006. Like I just have no tolerance for extreme heat like that. I mean, back then it was like 130 in Kuwait and Iraq, which is brutal. But I just don't have tolerance. Once it gets over 85 degrees, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I am all set with that. Get down. Good girl. Good girl. Donna says, welcome to our new family, to the new members. Jessica says, that is where Sully Erna's mom lives. I know, which is hilarious because when Sully found out that I was going to be on the radio down there, now she has a reason to listen to 98 Rock, not only to listen for her son's music, but also to listen to me because Sully's mom is just amazing. Jessica says, hi, Wednesday, you cutie. Bish says, I love high 90s during my runs. There is something wrong with you if you're out jogging high 90s. The only time I can handle it being that hot is if I am on vacation. I have some kind of tropical, pineapple-y, coconutty, frozen drink, or maybe a Mai Tai or a margarita, and I am like waist deep in the pool, sitting at the poolside bar, or like floating in the ocean on a pool floaty or something. Other than that, Jonathan, swamp ass, exactly. Let's see. New England, you get all 4 seasons, although definitely don't like the humidity. Well, that's the thing. The humidity is terrible, and the bugs. Watching the cicada footage, yeah. And those parachuting flying spiders that everybody's been talking about on the news, can't handle it. Elsa wants to know how the garden is going. So Elsa, over the weekend, I had to do some repair work on the fencing around the garden because some animals have chewed through some of the plastic fencing. I have never had, knock on wood, I shouldn't even say this out loud. I've never had a deer or a bear get inside the garden, but I've had things dig under the fence. I've had things eat through like the black plastic fencing that's around part of it. I reconfigured the garden a little bit during COVID and reinforced the wooden structure of the garden, the fencing around it. And so over the weekend, I did some protective fence kind of maintenance, upgraded some of the fencing, replaced the door to it has gaps that bunnies and bigger things could get through. So I put a metal meshing, not chicken wire, but smaller square so that like nothing can get through that. I really don't want to replace all of the fencing around it with metal because I just didn't like the look of it. I don't want to deal with rusting chicken wire and all that. But so far the garden is good. I told you guys that I was going to try some chaos gardening this year. I think we talked about it in the war room a little bit, that I bought a giant bag of bird seed sunflowers. So not sunflowers to plant, like when you go and buy the packets of seeds, but like a giant bag of bird seed sunflowers. And I soaked a couple of cups of them in water overnight, which I have learned is the best thing to do with your seeds before you put them in the ground, and planted those sunflowers inside the garden. Then I took the rest of the bag of sunflowers and I walked around my house and around the perimeter of the yard and just threw sunflower seeds around the perimeter as an experiment to see if any sunflowers would pop up just by having those seeds scattered. I know probably 90% of the seeds are feeding the animals that have been roaming around my yard, but I was really curious if any of them would make it into the ground and flower. So far, no evidence of the chaos gardening sunflowers, but I do believe that the sunflowers I put actually in the garden are probably 30 inches tall now, which is pretty cool. So far, so good on the garden. I'm pretty close to flowers on the pea plants. They're getting pretty tall. I think the peas are about 4.5 feet tall now, but I don't have pods yet. I have been picking white cherries off my cherry trees like crazy. I planted these trees when they were like this big when I planted them. And now one of them is probably 25 feet tall and covered with white cherries. In case you didn't know, cherry trees aren't all red, red cherry fruit. Some of them are white, which means that when the fruit is actually ripe, it's like the color of rosé. I made the mistake when I first started getting fruit on those trees to like try to wait for them to turn red, not realizing I planted a white cherry tree. And then I went out there and all of the cherries were gone. And I was like, what the fuck happened to all of my cherries? And then a friend of mine came over and was like, oh, you planted a white cherry tree. That's awesome. And I was like, wait, what are you talking about? So just in case you have wondered why your cherries never turn red on your tree, you probably have a white cherry tree in the yard. So I've been picking cherries. Get out of there, Wednesday. And they are delicious. The problem is the tree is so tall that I don't have a tool to be able to pick the cherries and get them all down. So if anyone has a suggestion of a tool to effectively pick cherry trees 20 feet up, and don't say a cherry picker because I'm not going to rent a cherry picker to literally pick cherries. I'm talking about a handheld pole-based device. I know I'm doing this, you perverts. Do me a favor, hit the message the studio button at mistresscarrie.com and send me the link, because I am definitely looking for something to pick more cherries because it's insane. But my apple trees that I picked, I now have little apples like this big. And I am now looking at what I need to put on the apples to keep things from eating them like worms. But I don't want to spray poisons on stuff. I love being able to turn the things in my garden into jams and jellies and all of that stuff. And it's all organic stuff. I don't spray pesticides or anything on it. So if you have suggestions for the apple trees, let me know as well. Let's see. I've seen bunnies everywhere on my way home. Wednesday has been chasing the bunnies. There is a bunny nest. I've got these little itty bitty bunnies living in some of my bushes that are adorable. Wednesday thinks that she can catch them, which she cannot. Our rose bush is flowering like crazy, and my bleeding heart has a shit ton of blossoms as well. Yeah, things have been growing great this year. The lawn looks really good. The garden is doing really well so far. I had a lot of flowers on my blueberry bushes this year. I think I'm going to have a bumper crop of raspberries this year. I have a whole section of the yard that is kind of cordoned off for raspberries because they spread like crazy, and the raspberries look amazing. So use a ladder, says Dave. No kidding, really, Dave? The problem is getting the ladder up there, A, and B, it's not something that I want to do without someone there to call 911 if I fall down, which is what I think every time I climb a ladder. I always want to make sure I have my phone in my pocket, but I just live in fear that something is going to go wrong with the ladder. I'm either going to fall down off the ladder, or the ladder's going to fall and I'm going to get hurt and there's not going to be anybody around to help me. So I would prefer to not climb a ladder. I would rather have some kind of a pole contraption. How about a cranberry scoop on a pole? I don't know what a cranberry scoop looks like. I know I'm from New England, but that I don't have a cranberry bog in the yard. So if you can send a cranberry scoop my way, let me know. Michael Cole's putting up Amazon links. Picker telescoping adjustable avocado scoops. Okay, I'm into it. Off topic, but I am finishing audio engineering degree and have been trying to get my foot in the door, but hitting dead ends. Any tips, says Emily. Emily, I wish I did. I think one of the only tips that I could give you, I don't know what your curriculum is, but I would really make sure that you are an expert in Pro Tools, Adobe Audition, all of the recording softwares. I know that there are a ton of people that get hired to edit and produce podcast audio. I see people online all the time. Does anybody know somebody that can edit my podcast? A lot of podcasters don't know how to produce their own shows. They don't know how to edit the audio, which is something I'm very fortunate that when I started the podcast, I had 20 something years of audio editing experience. So I do all of that myself, but I think the biggest thing is make sure that you are on top of the technology. Make sure you understand all of the new features of things like Pro Tools, which is pretty much industry standard at this point. And then I think, trying to apply for some kind of an internship. It's something that gets discussed on this week's episode of the podcast as well that I'll tell you about in a minute. There are so many studios in Nashville. And so if you have the opportunity to maybe go to Nashville for an internship for the summer or something, try to get in at a studio to try and learn some things. I had to do multiple internships in radio before I got hired, but I know that things are just a lot different than they used to be back then. But if you're not up with all of the features of Pro Tools, that would be the first piece of advice that I would give you for sure, because it's pretty industry standard. Let's see. Walter, pick the cherries, says Jonathan. Donna says, just sent you a link at mistresscarrie.com. Thank you very much. Tom joining us on Facebook, asking what the F is going on. Found one that I like on Amazon. Sent it to her, says Donna. Thank you very much. Rebecca, it's all digital. It's all digital, not analog. I mean, look, 606 Studio that Dave Grohl owns in California. He's got a Neve board. He's got a lot of analog gear. but Pro Tools has really made it so that people can make really good sounding recordings in their own home studios, which so many artists use now. That skill set is going to help you in whatever kind of audio production world you end up getting into, whether it be audio production for television, for internet streaming, for radio, for music, whatever it is that you're doing, the audio has to get recorded somewhere and edited and produced somewhere. And I would say, I don't know, probably 85 to 90%, an uneducated guess of mine is that people are using Pro Tools. So blueberry rake on a pole, says Tracy, for the suggestion on the cherries. Jason says, hey, Carrie, sorry I'm late. Thank you very much. A 5-hour show is now recorded in an hour. The death to radio broadcaster, says Rebecca. So yeah, if you want to get into the weeds of radio now, radio is completely different. It's different in a lot of ways. It's different because fewer companies own all the radio stations than used to 25 years ago. It's different because of digital technology now. The studios are automated with computers that hold all the music now. I think just like any other industry, they're automating as much as they can. The AI boom, I think, is only going to be more and more detrimental. They already have complete AI radio stations on the air, and they're telling the listeners that this is AI. And I think people are like, ooh, that's cool. But I've seen Terminator. I know how that all ends. So, and to me, I still love the idea of connecting with the person on the radio, listening to their perspective, hearing them talk about things that are going on, hearing them talk about things that we have in common. So if you listen to the Mistress Carrie radio show, probably 85% of the show is talking about the bands and the music, because that's what I love. That's why I got into radio in the first place, is the music. So Rebecca says, I'm so happy to finally watch your podcast. So Rebecca, there's a difference. The Mistress Carrie podcast is audio only. You can find it everywhere. I'll tell you all about it coming up on the show. This, what you're watching right now, is Cocktails in the War Room, which is my weekly video show. This is not the Mistress Carrie podcast. Two completely different things. If you go to mistresscarrie.com, you can see the difference. The podcast is not video yet. It is a goal of mine to eventually be able to release the podcast interviews as video as well. But not all of the interviews that I do are videoed. Sometimes the artists call on the phone still into the studio. Sometimes I record the interviews live on site and there's no cameras there to do it. Eventually, I'm hoping the podcast will expand so that you can watch me interview the rock stars. But what you're watching right now, and it's confused a lot of people over the last 4 years, but Cocktails in the War Room is not the Mistress Carrie podcast, which is why it has this logo with the martini glass and the hand grenade, because it's something totally different. Eric says, did you hear Hardy's new cover of Gin and Juice with Dr. Dre? Oh, I heard it. Hilarious. The blending of music that is happening right now, because of artists like Tim Montana and Jelly Roll and Hardy and Royal Lynn that was on the show last week, but then also Five Finger Death Punch with DMX. There's all of this blurring between rock, hip hop, and country right now. And I think the rock purist in me 20 years ago would have been appalled by it. I think it's good for everybody. I think Post Malone doing a song with Ozzy. I think Public Enemy and Anthrax, Aerosmith and Run DMC. I think all of those things help to the Linkin Park album they did with Jay-Z. Like, all of these things are spurring creativity in all of the artists. And I don't know if you guys watched last Thursday night, the Eminem produced show in Detroit. Watch it. If you haven't seen it yet, it's great. Jelly Roll was on it. But I watched Eminem's performance, and he performed with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. It was the grand reopening of this old historic train station in Detroit that the Ford Motor Company spent millions of dollars to help like re-energize downtown Detroit and really redo this train station. It's beautiful. But watching Eminem perform his songs with a symphony, the way that Evanescence did the Synthesis tour, like, I just am kind of loving the fact that these really tall silos of music are starting to come down a little bit. And I was a believer in those silos for a long time because there were so many people that were so anti the music that I loved in the mid to late 90s, the metal stuff, the hard rock stuff that came at the tail end of grunge. And so many alternative stations were picking on the active rock stations for the Korns and the Limp Bizkits and the Rage Against the Machines and the Disturbed and Seven Dust and all Deftones, all of that kind of stuff. That it really created this rivalry between alternative and active rock, and that you couldn't like, you know, a band like Muse and like Korn at the same time, and that these stations, you know, the White Stripes or whatever, like, you were forced to kind of pick a side. I mean, in radio, we had some of the most legendary radio rivalries in the country in Boston at the time. But I think rock has had such ups and downs now, and hip hop, like every genre of music, became the genre du jour. And like hair metal in the 80s, like grunge in the 90s, like new metal, you become the popular music, and then everybody starts to sound the same, and you cannibalize yourself, and then you become not cool anymore. And I think that's happening to a certain extent in hip hop right now, where, you know, they're just acting like the flashy 80s rock stars, and it's all vapid and there's no depth, and you're not saying anything anymore, which is why it's super exciting to me that there are these new artists that are blending genres, because people that grew up in the 2000s grew up listening to hip hop and metal simultaneously, and that's not weird for them. And so, of course, as they get older and become musicians themselves, they're going to have those lines blurred. We've all seen, you know, Body Count on the Ozfest, which is something nobody would have ever been like, no, that doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. And so I love that Hardy is covering Gin and Juice. I love that all of this stuff is kind of happening. And I love, you know, that a guy like Jelly Roll can be collaborating with the truest of country artists, collaborating with Falling in Reverse, getting ready to do a song with Shinedown, and then performing on stage in Detroit with Eminem. Like, this is a good thing for music, I think. Bish says, I'm a country rock metal guy. Yeah, like, I'm glad that there are fewer labels, and I'm glad that as somebody that works in radio, you know, there's always those debates. Can we play this? Does this make sense? I remember it when Linkin Park and Jay-Z released that album together, Collision Course. Like, people went back and forth about, can we play it? Should we play it? For a while, I was like, but I remember, you know, when people started playing Evanescence, they were like, this isn't a rock band. And yes, they are. So I'm very excited. And Jelly Roll is amazing. Hardy is amazing. Tim Montana's unbelievable. Like, I love that these guys are true creatives, that they're true musicians that are doing it because it's what they love, and not doing it because they're trying to follow a musical trend and they're just trying to make a buck. They're trying to make music that they love. If you go back and listen to the last Tim Montana interview, he talks about how he tried to make it in the confines of country music for so long and they wouldn't accept him. And then he moved back to Montana where he grew up, and he started recording rock music, and the rock fans were like, this shit is awesome. And he's like, you know what? I've been accepted by rock. That's where I'm staying. I love it. So, I just think it's awesome. And I love the fact that you guys are discovering a lot of these artists early on the Mistress Carrie podcast. And that even if you're unsure if you're going to like the music, you're giving these artists a chance listening to the interviews, because you're curious about what they have to say. And then when you get to know them as people, I think it makes listening to the music a little different too, because you're like, oh, wait, I remember them referencing that on Mistress Carrie's podcast. On Instagram, absolutely loved Jelly Roll. That performance with Eminem was so good. I know it was great. Manuel TV on Instagram says, greetings from Mexico City. Thank you very much. But do you think 30 Seconds to Mars is rock? Yeah. I mean, what else is it? I don't think it's pop necessarily. Pop rock, maybe, I guess, if you want to call it alternative. But yeah, I think 30 Seconds to Mars is rock. Sure, why not? I am a hardcore Hair Nation fan, but my son taught me to open up my genres to hip hop and not country. I'm still having a hard time. It's such a twangy thing going on. I got to tell you, I have a hard time with a lot of the country stuff too. You know, I am way more on the ZZ Top, Allman Brothers, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Johnny Cash side of country than I think I would be, you know, on like the more poppy Carrie Underwood, like, you know, and a lot of like the patriotic posturing stuff with country. Like, it doesn't do anything for me. On Instagram, what about interviewing the local music scene or the local medicine? Let me try that again. What about interviewing the local metal scene out of Worcester? Well, I mean, sometimes I can do that stuff, but as you're seeing here in the comments, as I've expanded the Mistress Carrie podcast to still 149 countries, which we'll talk about, but also on over 42 plus radio stations around the country, the podcast is something that I try to make as kind of diverse and wide as possible, because I want people that are listening to me on the Oregon coast or in Dothan, Alabama, or in New Mexico, or in Wyoming, or in Charleston, South Carolina, that I want it to be just as interesting to them. And so, you know, Mike Shue and I have talked extensively because it was so awesome that he used to do the Harder, Faster Metal show. And, you know, doing a local music show is hard too, because you get so many music submissions that you have to go through them all. And you're doing it as a passion project, not as part of your full-time job. And it can be overwhelming going through all of the submissions sometime. Carmelita with Bay State Rock, I mean, she spent hours and hours and hours doing it. But I go to a lot of shows in Worcester, and I go and watch the bands. I hear about them. And I'm always willing to like help, you know, promote shows and stuff. It's just when it comes to the podcast, I'm always trying to kind of stay up on top of what's next, the big artists that are just getting ready to break nationally, and to make the show as appealing for someone that is in Worcester, Massachusetts, or Portland, Maine, or Charleston, or anywhere else that people hear me on the radio or on the podcast. So that's kind of why I don't do more super locally focused stuff. Let's see. Christine says, oh my God, I forgot about that metal show that Mike used to do. It was awesome. Mike is such a huge connoisseur of metal. Harder Faster was awesome for metal fans. He was just so good at it, so knowledgeable. You know, I used to listen to the show all the time to kind of keep my finger on the pulse of what was going on in metal, because I knew Mike would tell me. Bish says, I can go from Kenny Chesney to Metallica to Tupac in my playlist. I can do the Tupac sometimes, the Metallica, obviously, the Kenny Chesney, the country stuff. I'm trying, but my husband loves it. It's just not something that I have developed a taste for yet. All right. I got a bunch of stuff I want to tell you guys about. So the first thing I want to tell you guys about is a new Mistress Carrie deal for the summer. It's a perfect thing to solve your Father's Day problem if you haven't gotten Dad something for Father's Day, which, by the way, is coming up on Sunday. So do not, I tell the guys this before Mother's Day. Ladies, don't screw up Father's Day. But for the summer, if you have ever wanted to try skydiving, I got together with Jumptown Skydiving, And they are offering for the summer $40 off a tandem skydive when you use the code Mistress Carrie. Jumptown is the oldest commercial drop zone in the United States. It's located in Orange, Massachusetts, about 70 miles west of Boston. The history of Jumptown is long. The safety record's great. The view up over the Quabbin Reservoir on a clear day, you can see Boston. It's absolutely gorgeous. So if you have always wanted to try skydiving, if you know somebody that has always wanted to try it, if you have questions about whether you can go or not, you can go to jumptown.com. Just go to the tandem section. There's an FAQ section there. But go to jumptown.com, and then if you want to make an appointment for a tandem, when you go to pay and check out, use the code Mistress Carrie and you get $40 off. And I put all of this information and the links up in my blog at mistresscarrie.com to make it easier for you guys to find. Yes, it is Laconia Bike Week this week in New England, up in New Hampshire in the Lakes region. And this reminder is good for anybody, no matter where you're watching Cocktails in the War Room from. The motorcycles are everywhere. So just please, 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 please double check the mirrors. You know, people are always screwing around with their phones while they're driving. You're using Waze or whatever on your phone to navigate. Just keep an eye out for the motorcycles. And for motorcyclists, I always said, you know, I'm never going to tell you what to do. I will just subtly remind you that my motorcycle accident in September of 2015, that my life was saved by the safety equipment that I was wearing, including my helmet, including the leather jacket, the boots, and the gloves, and the denim, real denim jeans that I was wearing. Saved me from road rash. Yes, I still had to have surgeries to repair damage from the accident, but I was told in no uncertain terms by the paramedics in the ambulance that were there on scene on the highway that 100% my safety equipment saved my life. And so I wear full face helmet when I ride my motorcycle. I wear a full face helmet when I skydive because I don't want to get kicked in the face by one of my idiot skydiving friends. So just think twice about your safety equipment. Because the recovery sucks. So let's see. Orange, Mass, notorious for speed traps, says Truck. Well, it was the guys from the Orange Fire Department that were some of the guys that helped me when I crashed my motorcycle. So let's see. Full face helmet, gloves, and steel-toed boots, says Travis. Absolutely. I believe in all of that stuff, no matter how hot it is. I do have some of those riding jackets that are more of like the netting with the armor in them. I've got a leather jacket with the zips for vents. Yes, it's hot sometimes. My full face helmet has vents so that the air goes up through it. Do I sweat sometimes? Yeah. Do I stink sometimes? Yeah. But I'm dressed for the crash, which has happened. So I speak from experience. So that's your Mistress Carrie deal for the summer. So if you want to try skydiving, you want to go on a tandem skydive, check out the blog at mistresscarrie.com. I got the links, all the info up there. Once again, I want to welcome everybody to the Mistress Carrie universe that is down in the greater Charleston, South Carolina area that listens to 98 Rock, Charleston's best rock. I'm so excited. This is week number 2 that I've been on the air in Charleston. So happy, so thankful and grateful for the amazing reception that I've gotten from the audience. You can download the 98 Rock app at my98rock.com. You can also stream the station from anywhere at my98rock.com, but you can hear me weekdays from 10 to 3. And I'm just so happy that people have been loving the show. So many of the artists, the guys from Shinedown, Adam Gontier from Saint Asonia, Tyler Connolly from Theory of a Dead Man, RJ Hale from Hailstorm. There have been so many artists that have reached out to me that have been congratulating me and go, what can I do to help? Can I record some things for your new show? What can I do? And so a lot of the bands are super excited that I've taken on another radio station too, which is awesome. So thank you to everybody that has been listening on 98 Rock. And one of the other places you can hear me every weekday, 3 to 7 on 100 FM The Pike. Want to remind you about the Hair Fest, which is coming up July 20th. All this week, if you listen to The Pike, you can win tickets to the Hair Fest at Indian Ranch in Webster from Mike Shue. Chuck Perks and I are giving out tickets all this week on the air. I'm on every weekday, 3 to 7. And then the Rock Fest is like the big last Pike event of the summer, which is August 31st at Indian Ranch. Those tickets are on sale now. And you can just go to pikefm.com, stream the station, download the Pike app, get more details on all of the shows. And as always, all of the events that I talk about here in Cocktails in the War Room are up on the event calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Another place that you can listen to me every day is 106.3 The Bone, which is in Portland, Maine. You can hear me every weekday from 3 to 7 on The Bone. You can go to 1063rocks.com or 1063thebone.com and listen and download the Bone app, and then you can listen anywhere as well. So no flip-flops on the bike, says Michael Cole. Couldn't agree more. I have seen horrific pictures of people that wore sandals, slip-on shoes, Crocs. Makes me queasy just thinking about it. Mark says, I hate full face helmets. I get it. But as somebody that was not wearing a full face helmet when I crashed my motorcycle and the only thing in my body that got hurt was my face. George says, dress for the slide, not the ride. No shorts either, says Melissa. Yeah, I mean, look, I said, I'm not going to tell you what to do. All I can do is speak from my own experience. When I see people riding without a helmet, all I can do is just hope that they are prepared to outmaneuver somebody not paying attention. But I don't want people at my funeral going, she died doing what she loved, when what I loved was completely preventable when it came to that kind of an emergency. So Bish says, headed to South Carolina for a wedding in July. Definitely going to check out the new show. Thank you very much. You are all over the place, sweetie. Yes, I am. I'm taking over the world, which is why I love the fact that we get together every Tuesday night, because it gives you guys a chance to ask whatever questions you want to ask. It's one of those ask me anything kind of things that a lot of the bands do online. You guys know that we're just going to do it every Tuesday night here in the War Room. So, all right, we got to do our cocktail recipe this week. And hold on, I got to open up my ginger beer because I forgot to pour it in there. Hold on. Right, Wednesday, you came back for the cocktail recipe. This isn't mail call. This is the cocktail recipe. So I have a very specific cocktail that I picked this week. So you guys know how the mayors of big cities, even governors of states, have the ability to dedicate a day. I talked to Sunny Sandoval from POD about how they had Sunny Sandoval Day in San Diego. I had Mistress Carrie Day in Boston on April 17th of 2008 to celebrate my 20th anniversary on the air. So today in New Orleans, I'm not kidding. This is a real thing. Today is Back Dat Ass Up Day in New Orleans to commemorate the 25th anniversary of Juvenile's hit song, Back Dat Ass Up. And yes, it's as AZZ because that's the actual title of the song. So the mayor of New Orleans proclaimed today Back Dat Ass Up in New Orleans today. So first of all, cheers to the mayor in New Orleans, because it's like an official proclamation that Juvenile got for Back Dat Ass Up Day. The reason why I picked the cocktail is because arguably the most famous drink in New Orleans is the hurricane. And so I thought this week I would teach you guys how to make a hurricane on Back Dat Ass Up Day. So if you want to make a hurricane, it is an ounce of white rum, an ounce of dark rum, a half an ounce of triple sec, juice of 1 lime. There's also a half an ounce of the Gome syrup and a half an ounce of grenadine, 3 ounces of fresh orange juice, and 3 ounces of pineapple juice. Hangover Central right there. It says, shake the ingredients, strain into an ice-filled highball glass, and serve. You know I'm going to say garnish, obviously, with orange wedges, pineapple pieces, maraschino cherries in there for sure. But, yeah, how else are you supposed to celebrate Back Dat Ass Up Day than with a hurricane, New Orleans style? So there you go. Right, Wednesday? Okay, let's recap last week's podcast episode. Royal Lynn, speaking of blending genres of music, she is a Canadian country girl that grew up a metalhead on a farm in the middle of nowhere. And she is coming out of Nashville with a little bit of kind of country swagger, but she is all rock all the time. And she has got pipes. So she was my guest on episode 209 last week of the Mistress Carrie podcast. She is one of the newer artists that earlier this year I got introduced to at the radio convention Happens that I went to in Vegas. And it's part of the reason why I go on those Vegas trips every year is that I get to go and see the new artists that the labels have signed and that are developing. And I get a chance to meet them, to hear the music that they're working on, and really get a sense of what this artist is like long before anybody else does, which I absolutely love. So, oh my God, hold on. I need to turn on the pug cam for you guys real quick. She has come in and just decided to put her butt on my leg, right? Are you just going to sit there? Are you protesting because the cookie pocket's empty? Huh? You want to say hi to everyone? You want to say hi to everyone? You just want to put your butt on me? You just want to be all snuggly? It's okay. You can sit with me. Jonathan says, I love grenadine. I always thought grenadine was maraschino cherry syrup, and it's not. It's pomegranates, which I did not know. It's freaking delicious. I love it too. Let's see. Downloaded all of her current music, says Stephen Thomas. That is fantastic. Oh my God, I am in love with Wednesday. She is so precious. She looks like a little cuddle bug. Oh, she's a cuddle bug, all right. Absolutely, for sure, 100%. So if you have not gone and listened to Royal Lynn's music yet, her first big major single is called Death Wish. It is dedicated to first responders. She does a lot of work, as she talked extensively about in the interview, working with mental health, working with first responders, military members. Hold on, you guys got to watch this. Hey, what are you doing? How am I supposed to get anything done right now? How am I supposed to focus on the podcast? How am I supposed to do anything when this is happening? She's tossing all the pillows, all the toys around. You're acting like a psycho. What are you doing? You look like you've had one too many of these drinks. Here's your hurricane right here. Is that what that is? There you go. Why are you knocking it off the couch? I'm trying to talk about the podcast. And you just want to be cute and playful, and nobody's going to listen to a word I say because they're just watching you right now. You know that's what's happening. You hijack the show every week like this. This is what my life is like all the time. Yeah, there go the pillows, Tracy. Exactly. She isn't trying to steal the show. She has completely stolen the show. Do you accept song submissions from unknown independent artists? Logan wants to know. Well, it depends on where you can send me music to listen to. I cannot put music on the podcast because it triggers 50 different sets of copyright flags depending on where people are listening to the podcast. YouTube has one set of rules. Apple's got another. Google's got another. Everybody's got a different set of how much music you're allowed to put in the show. And I just don't want to deal with getting the show flagged all the time and trying to navigate that. Some people, like when Joe Rogan went exclusive on Spotify, it was a lot easier because he's already on Spotify for him to be able to put those songs on there. If you're talking about getting the songs played on the radio, I am not in a programming capacity on any of the stations that I am on now, the way I was back at WAAF. Obviously, I have fantastic relationships with all of my bosses on all the stations so that I could tip them off to things, but making decisions about what songs get added by the stations is not part of my job description anymore. So it depends on why you want to send me that music. If you want to just send it to me so I can listen to it and give you some feedback, more than welcome to do that. Just hit the message the studio button at mistresscarrie.com. Jonathan says, oh, dear Lord. Bish says, Wednesday giving 0 fucks tonight. I know. She's just going to sit there and be adorable and steal the show. Right, Wednesday? You just completely hijacked the show. I was about to tell everybody who's going to be on the podcast this week. And now you're just going to sit there and be adorable and make it so that nobody wants to know that piece of information. Can I tell them? You were in the room when I did the interview. You heard me talk to the guys. Joshua says they do say pets act like their owners. Marcy says, Mommy, I am doing my job. Yeah. Wednesday giving 0 fucks tonight, Bish. I know. F-bomb. Woohoo, says Keith. She says, give me cookies, says Louise. I don't have any more. The cookie pocket is empty. She ate them all already. Yes, you heard me say it. To empty. I'm going to tell them who's on the show this week. Okay. Before she does something else that's ridiculously cute. Episode 210 of the Mistress Carrie podcast is out tonight at midnight. And my guests this week are Troy McClawhorn and Terry Leroy from Killington Pit. Now, you'll remember Troy McClawhorn because this is not his first time on the show. He is a member of Evanescence. He is one of my oldest friends in music. He was the guitarist in the band Double Drive back in the late 90s. I met him through the Seven Dust Guys years and years and years and years and years and years ago. He was a member of Seether for a while. He was a member of My Darkest Day for a while. He has been in Evanescence now for, 16 years or something like that. And Terry Leroy, Troy McClawhorn, you'll recognize Will Hunt from Evanescence as well. He's the drummer. And this is a new band that came out of COVID. It's a bunch of great musicians that absolutely love metal. And they got together to start working on some metal covers like Accept, Balls to the Wall, Dio covers, Maiden covers, Judas Priest covers, stuff like that. And then as they started collaborating more, they realized that they wanted to write some originals. And so when I found out about this project, I was like, I want to have these guys on the show because I knew that it would be a great conversation about music. Terry Leroy is the lead singer. He has been the singer of so many different metal bands. He is a jewelry maker and makes body modification jewelry and comes out of that world and the music world at the same time. And he has got pipes. So if you look up Killington Pit, which is the name of the band right here, I asked him all about where the band name came from. I asked him about the song selection of the songs they decided to cover. But we got into nerdiness when it came to, bands that they loved, that they grew up inspired by, like Queensryche and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and Dio. Troy McClawhorn told me a really funny story about meeting Eddie Van Halen. People lose their minds every day when they meet rock stars. But what I think a lot of people forget is that those rock stars, there are rock stars that are rock stars to them. And to hear Troy tell the story about getting to meet his idol as a guitar player, Eddie Van Halen, to hear him fanboying out, the story is hilarious. So this week's episode is all about music and inspiration, and we talk a lot about the music we all love. And we're expecting an announcement very soon about when their debut album is coming out with original songs on it, because they have not released that yet. They have released a handful of covers that you can find on all of the streaming platforms, especially their cover of Accept's Balls to the Wall, which you can find on Spotify and Pandora and all of that. You guys need a Pug Cam update. That's what's happening right now. She looks like she is just surrounded by drinks in a drunken stupor right now of cuteness, right? You're just chilling in your spot. Perfect camera shot because you're a professional, damn it, right, Wednesday? Yeah, I know. You're a professional. You're a professional, I know. This is how it is. When I record these podcast episodes, like she's literally either on the floor in a pug bed that is at my feet while I'm sitting in the studio, or she is sleeping like this, kind of in all of the pillows that are on the couch in MCHQ. Either way, this is what she does. This is normal Wednesday while mommy is talking behavior. If you like the podcast, so Killington Pit episode 210 goes live at midnight tonight. Subscribe to the podcast. Not only are you going to get the weekly episodes, but you're going to get the sit rep Monday through Friday, rock news, music headlines, entertainment updates. It's around 5 minutes long, keeps you up to date with everything that's going on. It's everything. It's music, it's technology, it's roadies, all of that stuff. Guys are talking about Evanescence. It says the rest of the members are now hired guns. Careful with that term, hired guns, though, because hired guns insinuates that they don't have any input into the music. Normally, when you use the term hired gun, it means that you are a musician that gets hired just to play the songs, to tour, play the songs. But the guys in Evanescence actually write the songs with Amy. That is not technically the definition of a hired gun, that she does collaborate with the musicians in the band. They are legitimate members of the band. They're just not original members of the band. So I just want to make sure that I point out that distinction. When you call somebody a hired gun, it kind of means that they have no permanent attachment to the band. And hired gun also, you know, that term kind of changes the pay structure too, because a hired gun just gets like a weekly rate to tour or, you know, whatever. Whereas if you're a member of the band, then you are kind of plugged into the revenue structure of the band, meaning record sales, song royalties, if you help to write the, you know, the songs or all of that stuff. So it's not quite hired gun, but I get where you're going with that. Let's see. Jessica wants to know how mom is doing. Mom is okay. We got the all clear that there were some pop-up COVID cases at her facility. Mom never got COVID again, which is great. And she's doing okay. So status quo, I think. Travis wants to know, was Troy's dad a Marine? You know what, Travis? I don't know. It didn't come up in the conversation, so I don't know the answer to that. Maybe some deep digging on Wikipedia, you might be able to get the answer to that. Once this episode comes out and I tag all of these guys in all the social media posts, I can find out, but I don't know if he comes from a military family. But it's something that you guys have heard come up on the podcast all the time. So many of these artists are veterans themselves or grew up in veteran families that it wouldn't surprise me if Terry Leroy's dad was a Marine. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Josh says, like John 5. Well, John 5 isn't a hired gun either because he's helping to write the new songs in Motley Crue. So obviously, he isn't going to get royalties from the original Mick Mars part of Motley Crue, but he is now, he's not just a hired gun touring guitar player. He is influencing the music of the band and an active participant in the songwriting. And if you go back and listen to the bonus episode of the Nikki Sixx podcast interview that I did, he talks about that a little bit. Speaking of the podcast, here's all the different places that you can hear the podcast and subscribe. All of the big ones, obviously, like Apple, Google, Spotify, Odyssey, iHeart. You can also listen to the audio-only episodes on YouTube. And the easiest thing, if you don't know anything about podcasting, is just to go to mistresscarrie.com. Every episode has an embedded player. Just hit play on the episode you want to listen to. It's Pretty simple that way. I made it super easy for those that are technologically deficient. The podcast worldwide continuing to grow in audience, but unfortunately not in the number of countries. We have stalled out at 149 countries that have listened to the Mistress Carrie podcast thus far. Still waiting for 150, which would be great. I want to fill in that map a little bit more. If you are celebrating your birthday today on June 11th, happy birthday. You're sharing it with Donnie Van Zant from 38 Special and Frank Beard from ZZ Top. And also happy Back That Ass Up Day. I'm sorry, it's just funny. So cheers. Happy unbirthday, Keith. Let's see. Bish says, screw it, I'll just live in Kenya. Donna says 2024 is your year. Donna, I hope so. All right, we got to talk about a couple things. I know this came up in the comments earlier. I wanted to get this info out there, not only for all of the people that may be going to Gillette Stadium tomorrow to celebrate Tom Brady getting inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame, but for all of the transplanted Pats fans and New Englanders that might be watching in Charleston, or, you know, if you're watching up in Portland, wherever you're watching the show from, Tom Brady's Hall of Fame induction ceremony is happening tomorrow. Gillette Stadium sold out for this event. This is the information that the Patriots have released. Bill Burr is going to help open the festivities. So the parking lots at Gillette Stadium open at 3:00. The stadium opens at 5. They are asking for everyone in attendance to be in your seats by 6:30. They don't want you to miss the very beginning of the ceremony at 7:00. So they're telling you to get there early. There is a massive list of special guests, former players. Bill Belichick is not on that list, but he is going. And they are going to stream it live. You can watch it stream live on Patriots.com, on the Patriots YouTube, and there will also be embedded players on all of the Patriots social media pages as well. So for anybody that's not going to be there, I got a ticket last minute, couldn't believe it. So I am going tomorrow, which I'm so excited about. But if you're not able to go, you will be able to watch it live from anywhere. So cheers to the GOAT. I mean, why wouldn't you sell out the football stadium? A guy thinks he's Taylor Swift right now in the middle of June. Why not? Let's see. Tracy says Tom Brady is the GOAT. Let's hope the website handles it this time, unlike the last celebration, says Josh. That's all you can hope, is that the stream is going to be able to handle it. You guys have seen me have technical difficulties here, especially when we started expanding the stream of the show on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, all of that stuff. There's always technology growing pains. For me, there's always another episode of the Cocktails in the War Room. For Tom Brady, there's only one shot to get inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame. And so I hope that the Patriots technology can handle it. Wrong button. Hold on, let me drink for that. I just want to give you an update on the PugCam. There you go. Just chilling. Just chilling Wednesday. Thank you. All right, so I keep your eyes on my socials tomorrow as well, and I will give you guys an update because I am going to be at Gillette Stadium tomorrow. Shows coming to the Garden: Incubus, Weezer, Jelly Roll, 21 Pilots, Jeff Lynne's ELO, The Black Keys. This show got canceled. Patrick Carney from the Black Keys, the band just fired their management and said we got screwed, and he is getting ready to give all the details. He hasn't announced anything yet, but there's something going on with the Black Keys. They are going to reschedule this tour, but not in arenas. They're going to change up the production. So if you had tickets to this tour at the Garden or any other arena that they were going to be touring at, you can get your refund. But there's definitely some strangeness going on with the Black Keys. So these are all local New England venues. If you're watching Cocktails in the War Room from anywhere outside of New England, just know that all of these tours are on the road. Check the websites of your favorite artists because these tours are definitely coming through. The Silver Scream Con, Spencer Charnas from Ice Nine Kills, the Horror and Gore and Metal Festival got moved to the DCU Center in Worcester. It's going to be September 13th through the 15th. Ice Nine Kills is going to play. There's going to be a bunch of guest appearances. There's going to be tons of vendors, all of that stuff. I'll have more details as it gets a little closer. And Iron Maiden is going to be at the DCU Center coming up on November 6th. A bunch of other shows that are coming around. This is this week, Unearth at Big Night Live. The Warning, who were just on the podcast a couple weeks ago, out on the road, Big Night Live, September 13th. Coal Chamber, Des from Coal Chamber, who's been on the show a couple times. They're going to be at Big Night Live. Asking Alexandria is going to be at Aura in Portland, and I am giving away tickets all week on 106.3 The Bone, but they are also going to be at Big Night Live in Boston coming up on October 8th. All of these shows are up on the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Hardy is going to be at the Xfinity Center next week. The Quit Tour rolling into New England. It's going to be insane. And so many other shows all summer long, culminating with this massive 30th anniversary tour that Korn is on. When I was in Boston with Head a few weeks ago eating cannolis, he was just talking about how excited he is to be able to go out and celebrate the band's 30th anniversary. And I brought up on this week's episode of the podcast with Troy McClawhorn from Evanescence about that 30th anniversary stadium show that Evanescence is playing with Korn in California, which is going to be huge. Get a Gronk hug, says Tracy. It's back in Worcester. Rock and Shock is coming back. This isn't Rock and Shock. This is a totally different thing. This is Silver Scream Con. This is not Rock and Shock. They're two totally different entities. Rock and Shock has been in Worcester for a long time. That is coming back as well. But Silver Scream Con is something totally different, just to make sure everybody's aware it's not the same thing. Greta Van Fleet is coming to Mohegan. Godsmack's going to be at Mohegan, but they're also going to be up in New Hampshire and up in Maine as well. Seven Dust doing 2 sold-out shows at the Hampton Beach Casino Ballroom in September. And this Blue Vi Levin Carey beat show, that's Danny Carey from Tool, by the way, Adrian Belew, Steve Vai, playing the music of King Crimson. Like, if you are a music nerd, this is like music heaven. That's at the Schubert on October 11th. And that tour is national as well. Leader Bank Pavilion coming up, I Prevail and Hailstorm. Also Slash's Serpents Tour. The 311 Tour is coming up August 7th. The Bush Loaded Greatest Hits Tour. Falling in Reverse, who are getting ready to release their first album in 7 years. Popular Monster, that is going to feature Jelly Roll as a cameo appearance. Also, their cover of Last Resort by Papa Roach is going to be on this. And the Falling in Reverse Popular Mons Tour 2 has got Dance Gavin Dance, Black Veil Brides, Tech Nine. That's happening September 9th. Andy Bierzak from Black Veil Brides was just on the show a few weeks ago. And Jane's Addiction, the original lineup out on the road. They're going to be at the Leader Bank Pavilion on September 13th. Yes, it includes Dave Navarro. He is finally able to tour with the band. He's been battling long COVID, I think, for like 2.5 years. Rolling Stones already happened. Typo. Social. Metallica, big announcement last week. The marching band competition is back for a second straight year. Registration for band leaders is open right now until September. The official submissions, the performance submissions, are due in November. Metallica themselves are going to judge on all the categories and pick the winners in early January. The categories are going to be college, Division 1, college Division 2 and 3, high school large, medium, and small. There's also going to be a fan vote online. That voting is going to be open in December. Metallica making sheet music for 13 songs in their catalog, available for the 500 bands that they're expecting that are going to compete. And if you didn't watch all the winners on YouTube from last year, you got to go and check them out because the performances were awesome. Rise Against at Roadrunner coming up October 24th. Those tickets are on sale now. Fenway's concert series. A lot of rock in there. I'm going to this one, by the way. You guys heard Ed Roland from Collective Soul say that he wanted me to come to Fenway and hang out with him. A man of his word once again. He sent me tickets and passes so I can hang out with him at Fenway Park after Collective Soul performs. So I'm going to see Hootie and the Blowfish. Who knew? Bare Naked Ladies and Edwin McCain are on that one as well. The Foos are headed to Fenway. Blink-182, Def Leppard and Journey. Green Day with the Smashing Pumpkins. Rancid and the Linda Lindas. And Pearl Jam, of course, in September. And speaking of sold out Fenway, did you guys see the Savannah Bananas and the Party Animals? Good luck getting tickets. Those tickets are harder to get than Foo Fighters tickets for the Savannah Bananas tour. The footage was amazing. I love what the Savannah Bananas and the Party Animals are doing for baseball. They are kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball, and I just think it's amazing and wonderful. I had a bunch of friends that went to Fenway over the weekend and saw the Savannah Bananas and were just like, it was worth every penny. It was worth getting in the ticket lottery. They were amazing. Bish says, I got Metallica tickets for an early birthday gift. Nice. Rebecca, I love Collective Soul as well. You got to hear Ed Roland. He was on the podcast 6 weeks ago now. Who are the Savannah Bananas? They are the baseball team. You've got to go on YouTube and watch videos of the Savannah Bananas. Like I said, they are to baseball what the Harlem Globetrotters are to basketball. They are amazing players. They are a lot of college players, a lot of guys that made it to the bigs and then either got hurt or just really didn't make the cut. But they're amazing players, but they are just goofballs on the field, and it's amazing. Super fan encompassing. It's super friendly for kids. The Savannah Bananas needed a team to play, so that's the Party Animals. And if you haven't seen them, you got to go online and check them out. They're unbelievable. I think they're one of those entities that really got famous off of TikTok and social media, and they're just unbelievable. Let's see. Yes, you have to win a lottery for a chance to get Savannah Bananas tickets because you just can't get them. They sold out Fenway Park. They've sold out every game this whole season. They released the schedule. They put up ticket lotteries. But it shows you how popular they are because they were playing minor league stadiums like a year or two ago. And now they're selling out actual Major League Baseball stadiums now. And what I love is that Major League Baseball has smartly wrapped their arms around it. It would be like if the NBA got insulted by the Harlem Globetrotters bastardizing the game. No, it's fun, it's interactive, it's family friendly, it's all about the live experience. And I'm glad that Major League Baseball is welcoming the Savannah Bananas into the league's chapels, these stadiums, because, there's been a lot of talk that baseball's fan base was aging. And I think the Savannah Bananas and the Party Animals are a perfect way to get kids to fall in love with baseball. Let's see. Oh my God, are you kidding me? No, go on and look at the Savannah Bananas. They're amazing. So they were just in Boston. They sold it out. The videos are unbelievable. It's hilarious. Johnny Damon and Bill the Spaceman Lee made appearances at Fenway with the Bananas. So did Jonathan Papelbon. He came out in a kilt to the Dropkick Murphys. Like, baseball has 100% embraced this team, which I think is very, very smart. Very shrewd business move, but also just great. The Palladium Flat Black is scheduling headlining dates around the Godsmack tour with Nothing More. Set It Off New Year's Day, From Ashes to New, all going out on the road together right around Halloween, which is great. They're going to be at the Palladium on October 27th. They're also going to be up in Portland, Maine that week as well. NoFX's finale tour, August 31st and September 1st at Campanelli Stadium in Brockton. And we were talking about it earlier, the New England Metal and Hardcore Festival at the Palladium coming up on September 22nd, which is different than the Silver Scream Con. So different. Newfound Glory at Roadrunner. Also Kaleo, The Hives, the Red Clay Strays, who you may have seen open up for the Rolling Stones at Gillette last week. Rise Against and Dayseeker all headed to Roadrunner on the famous Guest Street in Brighton. MGM Music Hall at Fenway was just hosting Gary Clark Jr. Damn it. Kings of Leon and Queens of the Stone Age kicking off their North American dates in Boston at the MGM on September 28th. And then Sting is going to be there with Sting 3.0 on October 4th. Let's see. House of Blues has got Rival Sons and Clutch, Hatebreed with Carcass, Harm's Way, and Crypta. So many shows. They're already announcing shows through the winter, which is just crazy. Bish says the Savannah Bananas played in Brockton last year and Fenway this year. There is your sign of growth. That's what I'm saying. Keith Wallen from Breaking Benjamin is going to be on his solo tour at the Paradise July 22nd before he goes out this fall with Breaking Benjamin with Stained and Lakeside and Daughtry, who are going to be up at the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion. Let's see. Day to Remember, the story so far, and 4 years strong. This show is happening at the Stage at Suffolk Downs, the newly revamped concert venue, the Stage at Suffolk Downs. This is happening on June 28th. I have not been there to see all the renovations, but I cannot wait. New releases out this Friday include the vinyl reissue of Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA, Lindsey Buckingham, 20th Century Lindsey, the box set's coming out, Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, Blow It at Madison's Quinceañera, that is coming out, and Mike Shinoda of Linkin Park releasing Post Traumatic, the vinyl reissue. These are all of the new releases that are coming out this Friday. Okay, so I got this delicious set of treats in the mail this week. Wednesday's running in here because she thinks she's going to have this and she can't because it has chocolate. But I had never heard of Artie Bars before. Do you guys know about Artie Bars? Here's the QR code so that you can take a screen grab and check them out. So it says, your support of my small business means the world to me. Artie Gennaro, founder and CEO. So that's Artie from Artie Bars. Melissa, did you send these to me? I think you did. You can find them on social media at Artie Bars or at artiebars.com. And these bars, they're bigger, but I already cut off a piece. It's shortbread, caramel, and chocolate ganache. They weigh literally a ton. They're super, super heavy. Hey, can I help you? This isn't for you, but I want to show you guys. A few of them came in the package. Look at this. Yeah. Oh my God. And I'm going to take one bite. I already had some of this earlier. They're so good. But they're big. That's what she said. And I don't think you could eat it in one sitting. Like, they're massive. But they're really, really good. The shortbread crumbs get everywhere, Artie, just so you know. I'm sure you're aware that the crumbs make a little bit of a mess, but they are delicious. Support local business, absolutely. Melissa, you did. Yes, I thought you did. They are unbelievable. They are so good. Melissa, are they local? Where did you find them? Obviously, you guys can find them easy like this. But where did you find them? Do you know, Artie? What's in it? It's shortbread on the bottom, the crumbly, cakey part. Then it's caramel and chocolate ganache on top. They're delicious. Carol, it is really good. One bite, everybody knows the rules. Yeah. Exactly. There are 3 different flavors in there. I know there's an orange and there's a coffee flavor. I wanted to show the OG flavor first. I have not tried the other 2 because I can't eat them all at once as much as I would love to. But where did you find them? Did you just find them online, or do you know Artie? Like, I have questions, Melissa, but they're delicious. So thank you, Melissa, for exposing me to Artie bars because they're really, really good. So there you go. He originated in Mass and relocated to Raleigh. Interesting. Okay. Rachel, I did say coffee. They come with little flavor stickers on them. So it's got a little coffee cup. So I'm assuming it's like a mocha coffee kind of flavor. And then there's an orange, that the orange flavoring is probably in the chocolate ganache that's on top. Artie is in Raleigh, North Carolina. So there you go. But if he originated in Mass, I think it's pretty cool. And I love supporting local businesses like this, e-commerce businesses. I just think it's great. Have you guys ever seen the guy on social media that analyzes the shelves and the aisles of supermarkets? And he takes pictures and he goes through all the brands and goes through who owns them. And then so if it's like Heinz or like whatever other big company, and then he goes into what hedge funds actually own the companies. And so basically all of the different competitors, they may be owned by different companies, but those companies are owned by all the same people. And so what this guy does is he tries to find in supermarkets products that are family owned, that are still run by actual people that started the companies. And I notice myself that I am trying more and more to make sure that I am encouraging those businesses, right? That like if I'm going to get pizza, I try to order from a local pizza place. If I'm going to drink seltzer, there's a bunch of different seltzers on the market, so I might as well drink the local one. Stuff like that. And so the idea that this guy's running this company and it's delicious and you could just order them online and it's Artie and they're his bars and that's his face and this is his place. I think that's really cool. And I think if we, all try a little harder to try and, shop at a little bit more local, it changes the whole ecosystem of your community, because keeping your money local and locally owned and celebrating local businesses and going to local produce markets and getting your meat sourced locally in some kind of farm share, all of these things kind of help. I found him through a friend on Facebook, Melissa says. Well, there you go. Social media advertising works. So there you go. Can I? Travis says Polar Seltzer Peach Iced Tea is awesome. I like the lime the best. That's my favorite, but I haven't really found one I didn't like yet. Can I help you? What are you doing? Do you want to say hi to everyone? Or you just want to look at my Artie bar? Is that what you want? You can't have it Wednesday. All right. I want to tell you guys about the Father's Day sale happening right now in the store before we get out of here. Father's Day baby onesies and all of the men's T-shirts and tank tops. So not the 3/4 sleeve jerseys, but the T-shirts and the men's tank tops and the Father's Day baby onesies. The My Dad Says Mistress Carrie Rocks. They are all 20% off through Father's Day. And you can use the code DAD2024 at checkout if you go to mistresscarrie.com Check out the shop. There's a ton of other stuff. Great gift ideas for dads, pint glasses, koozies, the slate, Cocktails in the War Room coaster, shot glasses, pint glasses, coffee mugs, all of that kind of stuff, depending on what your dad is into. But the men's t-shirts, tank tops, and the new baby onesies are all 20% off through Sunday with the code DAD2024. If you got a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, you know about the live streams. We do them once a month. I'll let you guys know when we're going to do our next one. You know who's coming up on the podcast to submit questions, travel blog updates. So I will always kind of update you guys a little more behind the scenes when I'm out on the road. Access to event tickets and information. You have already been tipped off about an event that is in the works. I'll give you more details coming up. You guys always get info first. And exclusive concert ticket giveaways. Right now, you have access to Cage the Elephant tickets at the Xfinity Center, and you also have access, and I forgot to put it up here, tickets to see Hailstorm and I Prevail at the Leader Bank Pavilion. So if you have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, you also get exclusive merch discount codes, ticket giveaways. So just go to patreon.com/Mistress Carrie, or just click the Patreon button at mistresscarrie.com. and get yourself a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass. But those I Prevail and Hailstorm tickets, if you got a Backstage Pass, you can get those. Find me on social, all the places you guys know where. Obviously, the Pike app, the Bone app, and then, of course, the new place, 98 Rock in Charleston. Go to my98rock.com. You can download the 98 Rock app. You can listen to any of the radio shows anywhere. And of course, all the social links and everything is up at mistresscarrie.com. So there you go, guys. Rachel says, I always try to shop small and pure ingredients whenever I can. Absolutely. Lime is wicked good, says Travis. Thank you very much. Orange vanilla, delicious. She's looking for her mail, says Donna. I know what she's looking for. Lizzie, Hailstorm. Yes, tickets for I Prevail and Hailstorm in Boston at the Leader Bank Pavilion. Peace, love, rock and roll. Catch you on the flip side, says Melissa. Wednesday, do you want to say goodnight to everyone? Do you want to say goodnight? Say thank you for hanging out in the War Room with us. Thank you for following me on Instagram. Right? You want to say goodnight? Say goodnight, everybody. Bye, guys. I'll let you know how how Tom Brady's day goes tomorrow. And new episode of the podcast, Killington Pit, episode 210 of the podcast goes live at midnight tonight. Say goodnight. Good night.